Ladies and gentlemen, with the recent addition of Bradley Beal to the Los Angeles Clippers, I feel like it is extremely important to be making a video about why I think the Clippers are going to be a scary team heading into next season. Now, if all goes well, this team could be out to dominate. But of course, we need to talk about what could go wrong and how it could go wrong, and could the Clippers end up salvaging the situation if it does go wrong. Let's talk all about it and more in this video. But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you are new. And let me know where do you see the Clippers finishing in the West? Do you see them as a very formidable foe? Do you see them as a team that won't live up to expectation? Do you think the addition of Bradley Beal is a scary one? I know a lot of people, especially from the Phoenix Suns point of view, look at the Bradley Beal situation and consider him a washed up player. Is that where your head is at with Bradley Beal to the Clippers? But ultimately, I look at the starting lineup. I want to just suggest what I think the starting lineup is going to look like here, with the point guard being James Harden, the shooting guard being Bradley Beal, the small forward being Kawhi Leonard, the power forward being John Collins, who I've yet to talk about with the Los Angeles Clippers, and the center being Zubac, who we all know is a very formidable center in the NBA. I look at that team, right? And I think, balance-wise, this is great. But are these individual assets going to be able to stay healthy for an entire NBA season? And if they can, I think with more game time under their belt and the chemistry they can form, this is going to be a scary team in the NBA. Just like many teams in the Western Conference, I honestly sit here and I look at the West and I'm scared of almost everybody. As a Chicago Bulls fan, I'm scared of everybody in the West. I look at the East, not so much. I look at the West, everybody scares the living life out of me. Regardless, the Clippers are one of those teams. So the first thing we mentioned was the balance of the team. Why is this team a very good balancing act? How have they balanced this team? Well, for starters, I want to take you back to Bradley Beal with the Phoenix Suns. For I guess a lot of time with the Phoenix Suns, there was issues with that organization. You look at their team on paper, they had Devin Booker, they had Bradley Beal, they had, at the time, DeAndre Ayton, they had Yusuf Nurkic as well, but they also had Kevin Durant, they had a couple of decent role players, including Bridges, and all in all, that team on paper looked like they would dominate the Western Conference. But there were issues with that team. Issues with that team that I don't think the Clippers have. Starters, they didn't really have that true point guard. In the end, it turned out to be Devin Booker. He was the one doing the bulk of the facilitating, the bulk of the ball handling, and getting people in their sets. Bradley Beal had a bit of a part to play, but ultimately they were relying on even guys like Grayson Allen to do it. And ultimately, the lack of true point guard, I think, hurt them in the end. They had a Chris Paul at one time. They let Chris Paul go to try to bring that super team together. And then the lack of bench depth and defensive depth that they had was another key issue that was exploited until last season itself. Just no defensive capabilities in that team, and it exposed them in big areas. So all that being said, and injuries as well, that Phoenix Suns team didn't have a really good foundation like the Clippers have. Because when I look at this Clippers team, yeah, the backcourt is questionable defensively. James Harden and Bradley Beal, if they're both starting, it's a very interesting backcourt on the defensive end, because I don't think any of them are truly capable, strong defenders in this league. But where they kind of make up for it is the front court. We're talking about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard prides himself on defense. You can take away the offense for now, because that is obviously an amazing part of his game. But defensively, that is his pride. That is his bread and butter. That is where he's the most happiest. He literally talks about defense all the time when he does get a chance to speak. And it is what he has been known for since his very early days for the Spurs. He was always known as a great defender. John Collins, maybe not so much of an amazing defender, but his athleticism is enough to bring him a little bit of capability on that defensive end, and someone that will work hard on the defensive end. And Zubac is a very good defensive center, someone that's going to rim protect, someone that's going to grab rebounds, someone that's going to be a stonewall player, and it's going to be very hard to get past. So all in all, they make up for the lack of defensive backcourt with their formidable defensive front court. So I think the balance is perfect there. But also, the guards in of themselves offensively, I think are going to go very well together. James Harden, I personally think If I'm wrong, feel free to let me know. But I personally think as a point guard, James Harden is better than what the Phoenix Suns had, including Devin Booker in that position. Devin Booker is probably the better scorer at this stage of his career. His ability to shoot the mid-range, his three-level scoring, his post-game, he's just has layers offensively that James Harden, I mean, outside of the fouls, and James Harden has his own bag. I'm not even going to just get into that conversation, but all in all, as a facilitator, I view James Harden better than I view Devin Booker. So James Harden is going to take the bulk of the primary ball handling away from a guy like Bradley Beal, and is going to use that to facilitate, mainly in the pick and roll, but even outside of that in transition, James Harden is very good at these things. Not to mention he can add a few points to his tally as well. But a guy like Bradley Beal could work really well with this, because Bradley Beal, who had a lot of responsibility in areas he probably wasn't accustomed to, even on the Wizards, he now has the basic role of, hey, you are known as a scorer. There were times where you were one of the best scoring shooting guards in the world. There was conversations with guys like Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, these, I guess, shooting guards that almost resemble the olden days of basketball, where the shooting guard's role is to just score the ball and do it at any cost possible. Bradley Beal can kind of go back to that role and go back to that area. This is an extremely important part for Bradley Beal. A lot of people call him washed. A lot of people say he doesn't have much left to give. If he is healthy and he's in the right mindset and in the right role, Bradley Beal can still be a dangerous player, because you don't forget how to score, ladies and gentlemen. You just don't all of a sudden forget how to put the ball in the net. That is his gift that he has worked on his entire life, to be a scorer in the league. And now he's getting that opportunity as a main focus to be a scorer again. Whether or not he can do it successfully or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I really like the balance of James Harden being the primary playmaker and facilitator and orchestrator of the Clippers, with Bradley Beal's focus to finally just be on scoring the basketball. That to me is an important aspect, and the balance of that. Then you've got superstar Kawhi Leonard, number one option Kawhi Leonard, amazing player Kawhi Leonard. I could go all night long. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best players I've ever seen play basketball. And it is as simple as that, because of what he could do on both ends of the ball. You got the athleticism of the front court there. It really is a great balancing team. Unfortunately, we're talking about a team that has been riddled with injuries in the past. Kawhi Leonard recently has been very good, but for a lot of his time, from the Spurs to the Raptors to the Clippers, has spent time playing through injuries or missing time because of injuries. And unfortunately, as age gets a bigger factor, you would have to expect injuries could come in and crawl in to that Clippers team again. Bradley Beal dealt with injuries with the Phoenix Suns. James Harden has dealt with his fair share of injuries as well, probably not as much as those other guys. John Collins has been injured a lot as well. So I do beg the question about injuries. If they cannot get a full season together, all of them playing with each other, I do find them hard to be a threat in the West, because I feel like the key for them to being a good team is getting that chemistry together very early and sustaining it throughout the season. Now, of course, you're not going to get all of them playing 82 games. That would be incredible. No team has ever done that. But if you could get them playing around 65-ish games, each and every single one of them, getting a good chunk of momentum in their season, I really think this is going to be a very difficult team to stop. And then, of course, you have to be healthy in the playoffs, because it really is at this point, whoever's healthier wins. And you saw it with the OKC Thunder. The bulk of their team was healthy, man. So, they won the championship because of that. All in all, championships do depend on health these days. So they have to stay healthy, and that will be the biggest question for them. If they can find a way through load management, through, I guess, minutes management and all those things, if they can find a way to get those guys healthy for the playoffs and they can endure an entire playoff run, they're going to be a scary team. You know what? They were scary this season. I know they lost to Denver, but let's not pretend that was, I guess, a pushover because they got eliminated in round one. They faced, at the time, the reigning champions. And let's be honest here, they took them to 7. And it was one of the best series of the entire playoffs. Like, this team was scary then. Just because they get eliminated in the first round doesn't make them any less scary, and they're probably going to be a little bit more scary now. I know they lost assets like Norman Powell and whatnot. That will be a big blow for them. I still think they're going to be a scary, formidable side in this upcoming season. We'll see whether or not they could do it. Maybe it is just purely the star factor of their team. They have a lot of big names that have been, all-stars in the past. Maybe that won't translate to the NBA today. I don't know. But I'm liking the balance a lot more than I did with the Phoenix Suns. So we'll see what happens there. But thank you guys for watching. Do you believe the Clippers will be a threat in the Western Conference next season? I think health plays a big factor in it. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. And peace.